It's starting now. Is everybody getting in here? Come on down. So great to see you. I am actually going to be chewing and eating while we're doing this. I hope everyone else will as well. And Jay, let's actually go ahead and get rid of the screen so I can actually see everybody. There we go. That's better for me to see everyone. Hey, Angela. How are you?
Julie. I'm fine.
So good to see everyone. I'm just gonna do, let's see, how am I doing this? So some of you I know have been on, so it says admit. I don't know why we're having trouble with some reason it's asking us to admit everyone who is in a waiting room. So Jade, Alyssa's gonna look at that.
That's the new security feature.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can't have unwanted visitors.
Oh, interesting. Dante, hi, Barbara, Dante. Someone at a 916 number. I don't know. I'm trying to make somebody a host. More. All right, so we're just getting to figure this. It said I have to make you the host, then Jade, instead of me being the host. So
yeah.
Can make you. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay. Someone's music is playing. So how's everyone doing today? If you can come to video so we can see you. You can see me sort of like in between.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've actually put on, like, I earlier had on some lipstick.
I did not. There's nothing special for you guys. Just a warm heart for all of you.
Thank you. Hi, Dante. Little heart. Shayina, how do I say your name?
Shanina.
Janina, hi.
Hi, thank you so much for hosting this amazing virtual gathering. I was part on your one earlier today. It was great to hear that there's advocates out there and potentially how artists like myself can work towards aligning goals that are shared goals. And leading up to, unfortunately, this COVID-19 pandemic, I've been developing a mobile art gallery that's meant for public schools. And so it's exciting to see where there was sort of maybe some loopholes where it's like, okay, these would be the right people to talk to this about. So thank you for aligning sort of these meeting of the minds and giving artists an opportunity to learn from your platform and certainly your network, and potentially all of us align goals that are for a better future for our communities and of course the next generation.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been, it's totally an experiment, this Virtual Arts Advocacy Day. And it's been really exciting so far to see, first of all, lots of people are tuning in, which is great. And I think a lot of new advocates, which of course we need to bring inside, as we say, the tent, right? So that more people become arts advocates and we protect the arts funding and legislation that is needed to make sure that arts education is delivered and all the good things that we're all trying to do. So, and then of course in your own communities as well. So it's great. And I'm really excited. So far, we're like, it's working. So far it's working. So that's good. Who was on the first session, the 10 a.m.? Anybody who was there? Were you dancing? Anyone dancing in their chair with me?
Yep.
I ended up being dragged into a call, so I missed it. But I hope you all had fun.
It was so fun, actually. And Miss T is amazing. So it was, and then the poetry. It was like my hardest part for me is not crying. I'm constantly like very emotional. I think we're all kind of emotional. And so, like I'm listening to the poem and I'm like trying not to cry because I'm the moderator. So I'm trying to maintain professionalism. But let's see, there's some chat. Hi, Melissa, welcome.
Hi, Julie, thank you. Everything's been great so far.
Yay, wonderful. Yay. Hey, and who is this connecting to audio? I don't know you, so I don't see your name. So, Indy McCasey, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm pretty good. Thanks for hosting the space.
You're welcome. And maybe we could just, everyone could just introduce themselves and say what it is you don't need to hear me talking anymore. So I'd love to hear from all of you. Why don't you introduce yourselves? And I'm going to do it the way I see you, if that's okay. I'm going to call you out, and because that's how I see you on my screen. So I'm going to start actually with Angela. Toddy, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of what your experience in the space is here in terms of arts advocacy. You're a longtime arts advocate, so why don't you share?
Hi everybody. Yes, I think I'm now beyond decade 3 of California arts advocacy, and I'm now an independent consultant working with arts and cultural organizations and agricultural organizations as well. We have a lot in common as underdogs, and this is a very unusual situation, but I believe that the arts are here, winter, like the post office, rain, sleet, snow, hail, or pandemic. And so we have a big role to play in buoying society. And even as we are fighting our own fight to stay alive as organizations and stay healthy as individuals, producers, makers, creatives. So that's it.
I muted myself while I was chewing because I truly am going to eat lunch during this time period. So
I wanted to say hi to Robin, who's a state local partner.
Yeah.
And that's the industry that I came out of 30 years of that.
Awesome. Well, okay, so then we're going to tag Robin. Robin, why don't you introduce yourself and share with everyone what you do in this space and why you're an arts advocate.
All righty. So can you hear me? Great. So I'm director of the San Mateo County Arts Commission, and I've met Angela several times at America's for the Arts Conference, so it's great to virtually see her. And I am an arts advocate because, how shall I delicately put this? California, as many of you know, has 48 counties, I believe it is, and 58, is that what it is? 48, 58, yeah. And so, but only 10 of them are government local, only 10 of the local partners, I should say, are government commission, the local government county commission. The rest are all 501c3s, which is great. And in my particular situation, the prior, now retired county manager was not big on the arts. And I had to learn how to, I really had to, the commission had to fight for money, for staff support, for all of it. And that's why I needed to learn how to properly advocate. And so that is how I got into the advocacy game. Fortunately, we have a wonderful, he's been on board a year, actually about 16 months now, new county manager who is extremely supportive of the arts. God love him. I give him a hug every time I see him. And he actually, out of his own budget, paid for a consultant for our new strategic plan so that the commission did not have to pay for the strategic plan out of its own, out of its budget, which was a huge help. So that is how I got into the advocacy game, and making the case helps, because I can tell you that I actually got to about 10 days ago, I got another 50 grand out of the county to give out in COVID relief funds.
Awesome.
So, and that is basically because I knew how to go and approach. And so I went to the county manager and the supervisors, and I said, look, we have nurtured these organizations since I came on board, and we started the grants program in 2013. I said, we've invested money in nurturing them, and all that money that the county, the taxpayers, in essence, will go out the window if we let them fold. And you have a $3 billion budget in this county. It's like exactly 3 billion. And I said, we're pocket change, and I want another 50,000, and they went for it. So anyway, I'm very happy about that.
Awesome, Robin. That's actually a really great advocacy story and a way to frame how to work locally with your local governments to get in right now emergency funding. And I just want to also invite, we've got 21 people here on our lunch meeting, so it's great to have lunch with 21 people. We couldn't actually probably even afford to do this in a restaurant, so I'm really glad we're just doing it in our homes. And I know that it had been positioned as we're going to do letter writing, but we're not. And we're not going to do letter writing because I'll be honest with you, we're not ready. I'm just going to be totally frank. As Californians for the Arts, we're not ready to kind of unleash that letter, and we are going to be working on that, as I think if you were in the prior call, and how we need to be very nuanced and thoughtful in our advocacy currently, and really the local level is so critical right now in terms of, and I think what Robin pointed out is a really great argument, which is that you've already made an initial investment, or maybe you've made an investment over years. Now is not the time to pull out your investment and to leave our organizations high and dry. Now is the time to continue the investments so that we are strong coming out of this. And it's great that, the CARES Act has some funding for arts organizations, for independent contractors, et cetera, but we all know that it's not likely going to be enough, right? For us to really withstand this. So I want to keep going around, as it were, the table. It's my table. I get to see a certain way things go. So I'm gonna, and Robin, if you can just mute yourself while you're not talking. So if you're not talking, mute yourself. So as much as I love hearing people chew,
How do I
love you, Robin. So Indy, you're next up on my list. I see you're to the right of Robin at my table. So Indy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, and just as a quick note for Robin, if you can see the whole Zoom window. If you go towards the bottom, you might have to move your mouse around. There's a little microphone in the lower left-hand corner. It's called mute. Looks like you found your stop video for a second, but it's just the left of that. Hi, everybody. I'm Indy McCasey. I work as a consultant with the Oakland Unified School District, as well as the Alameda County Office of Education's Integrated Learning Specialist Program, which is focused on arts integration, using research from Harvard's Project Zero, where I also got my master's. Was at Harvard Graduate School of Education. So I'm a big proponent around arts education, around critical thinking, and around supporting teachers, teaching artists, and young people in leadership roles. And there's a group of us that have been meeting both school district, Oakland Unified School District, and community arts organizations. We've been meeting about 2 years. And the big things that have come up just from these organic meetings, these monthly meetings in person, but now they've switched online, is the focus on professional development for teaching artists, as well as advocacy. And so I feel like just in the last few months, the City of Oakland, or this last fall, City of Oakland suspended or put on hiatus its Art in the Schools funding, which was really supporting a lot of arts education in a local school district. And so we had to kind of ramp up our advocacy kind of aspect of our interest. And so I've been learning on the go, and then now definitely feel the pinch of what was said in the previous talk about the impact on local city budgets and county budgets, and just what that means, and how to, when we were already fighting for things that were being either cut or where funding was diminishing. So I'm really interested in this strategy of how to really positively spin and really emphasize the economic and social impact of the arts. Thank you all.
That's fantastic. And I mean, the resources for that, we work, as the last session showed, really closely with California Alliance for Arts Education and Create California. And really those are the two leading organizations in the state that are focused on arts ed. It is definitely part of our policies framework in terms of what we advocate for, but we look to them for the leadership on that piece, which is really great because honestly, it is a huge state. And for us as the comprehensive organization for all of arts advocacy, it's, you know, it's amazing that there are people that you all just met in that last session who are running these and they're brilliant minds and they care deeply. So follow them for sure if you didn't already. And then we'll continue all of these conversations as we go. Jessica,
Hi.
Hey. Jessica, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit how you are involved in arts advocacy or in the arts sector, or what is your role?
Oh, okay. I'm Jessica Nguyen. I used to work for a nonprofit doing art director to support veteran art, patriotic. And then now, so I have background in anthropology, sociology, philosophy, fashion, media, TV. So I think I'm born a philosopher, and now with this pandemic happen, I got right now I got about 30 pieces of art and concept related to the pre-pandemic and right now the new normal that I like to put together as a visual art portfolio. So I'm looking for any exhibition, museum, gallery, or any, you know, because this is really inspirational and it needed to be, you know, viewed out there so people can gain the energy back. So if you guys have any network for that, I like to work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for sharing. And it's great. We'd love to see your art. So if you have a website, you can certainly put that in the chat box. So maybe we could all check it out sometime.
All right.
So next up at my table, I see, like I said, this is my lunch table. So welcome to my lunch table, is Edmund Velasco, who's actually a board member for Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates. I'm really happy that we have 24 board members at California Arts Advocates and Californians for the Arts across the state. So thank you for joining us. Edmund, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and share why you're an arts advocate.
I was actually an arts advocate at the beginning of my, I'm a musician. And I actually started my arts advocacy when I was in college, trying to put together resources for private teachers to teach students and where you can find all those resources. This is all before, you know, the internet was a major thing. It was just kind of a fringe thing that was just starting. Shows you how old I am. I spent 28 and a half years working at Disneyland as a musician. I got elected to the board. I got elected as vice president for the Musicians Union in Orange County. And I'm also the vice president. I was also elected as the vice president for the Professional Musicians of California Conference. And I've always been advocating for education. In fact, a few years ago, the local school board here was in Whittier was going to drop the music program, and I spoke to the board on many occasions and got a whole grassroots effort to try to save the music program from budget cuts. They were going to cut it from the junior high and elementary schools. And we were able to not only restart the elementary school program, which hadn't existed in years, and expanded the junior high school programs. But I've always, right now, I was just listening to how the governor was talking about how he was going to roll out the school year for next year. And one of the things they're doing is they're talking about shortened days in schools, you know, and kids only going half days to school and then possibly doing online classes, you know, for the other half of the day. But so there won't be the congregation of people that, you know, that are, you know, the arts actually needs, like dance classes, music classes, you know, all that stuff. You have to, I think also with this COVID-19 is part of the things that we have to do is get back to socializing in a much more meaningful way. And the arts is one of the very few things that you can actually do in school. And it does create a community, and that's going to help, you know, heal the kids from, you know, this trauma that we're actually all living through right now. So, but you know, I always will be an advocate for the kids in school. I'll also be an advocate for the teachers who teach all the arts in schools, because they're usually short funded as well. So that's my story.
And you are a musician yourself. I think you mentioned it. And at 5 o'clock, when we're going to do our virtual happy hour and jam session, you promised to do a sax solo, right?
Yeah, I can only be there for a short amount of time because I have to jump on another. Where right now we're right in the middle of trying to save the jobs over at a couple of different symphony orchestras, and we have a meeting starting right at 5 o'clock that I told them I would be a few minutes late.
Okay, well, you'll be the headline. I mean, you'll be the opener.
The opening act.
You can be the opening act. Thank you, Edmund. And Edmund's just a phenomenal board member for Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates. And he's helped us a lot also in understanding the union's position in terms of Assembly Bill 5 and working with the unions and everything else. So thank you for your leadership on our board. James Reber. That is who's next on at my dinner table or my lunch table. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I feel like a party crasher. I'm in San Jose, and Ron Murriarta told me about this meeting, and I couldn't make the earlier one. I have a couple other Zoom meetings is what we do now. I actually run the San Jose Parks Foundation, but I am a longtime arts advocate. Having run the Berkeley Shakespeare Festival, founded San Jose Repertory Company, founded the Arts Roundtable in San Jose. And anyway, I just am never that far from the arts, so I'm a big advocate. And I thought I would see what is going on. I think you're right about not writing letters yet. We don't know what the letters will sound like or who they'll go to or what the message will be. We kind of have to wait and see. What I'm hopeful about, and I know a few artists that I keep sort of, I don't know, needling them. There's going to be art come out of this experience because it's too profound and too widespread not to have an artist's view. And I look forward to that, for somebody to make sense out of how this and why this happened. Anyway, I'll do what I can. I can write letters, I can make phone calls. I know the politicians in San Jose pretty well and have stayed in their good graces. But we've had a devastation of the arts community here just in general over the last decade. We're in the middle of all this money and high tech, and yet we can barely keep our arts institutions alive. So I look to individual artists to collectively replace what institutionally we don't have. Anyway, that's my thing. I'm listening as much as anything, and I'm just disappointed. Where is the food? This was a lunch meeting, and I'm looking all over for it.
I've got my salad.
Yeah, well, she's got a bag of chips there. Oh, okay, all right. Anyway, thank you for allowing me in here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you. Karen, did you want to go next? I saw you starting to say something. So Karen Killebrew, why don't you go next? I see you're at my lunch table. Please introduce yourself.
I am the chairman of the board of the Arts Council of Placer County. I've been an arts advocate for many, many years. I just saw Angie Tati Hine. She's the former executive director of the Arts Council of Placer County. We have a thriving arts community here. And we're already trying to innovate with artists that are suffering during this period. We have a stay-at-home talent show coming up. So we're doing our best to stay involved and keep the arts flowing and keep the money flowing and keep everyone's enthusiasm up.
Thank you, Karen. Have you had luck in terms of speaking directly to your supervisors about supporting the arts? What does that look like in Placer County?
Well, we're really blessed to have a really great relationship with the county. We actually do get funding from the County Economic Development Department. We've been in very close contact with Sherry Conway, our Economic Development Director, and she's been very, very helpful in keeping us apprised of what the county's doing, and we've been keeping her up on what we're doing. So we feel very, very blessed to have that relationship.
Thank you. So it's interesting in terms of, we talk about effective advocacy, which is so much about relationship building and in a long period, right? It's not just like when there's an urgent crisis to show up and say, I need something, but really to have had that consistency in proving yourself as a valuable asset. And in particular, it's interesting too, always for us to think about who is it that we should be building relationships with in our community. Who are in positions of power. And in your case, you're outlining, for example, the Community Economic Development Department. And
I really appreciate this morning the information on arts and education, because our board has made that a real focus for next year especially. We've had kind of a rebuilding year with our board, but I'm very, very excited about some of those data collection projects and things like that we can implement this year and next year.
Yeah, the data is so important, and in particular to lawmakers and spending tax monies, we really have to have that sort of information, not just our effective stories, but we also need to be able to share the specific data. So thank you for that, and thank you for introducing yourself, and thank you for joining us for lunch.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Melissa, do I say Cerrone? Is that Cerrone?
Cerrone.
Cerrone. Melissa, why don't you introduce yourself and what your role is and why you're an arts advocate, or something you'd like to share?
Hi, I am Melissa Cerrone, and I work at the Sacramento Office of Arts and Culture, which used to be Sacramento Metropolitan Arts Commission. So I do work in city government. My role is primarily managing arts education and community arts programming. So I am a soft advocate because I work for city government, but boy, the changes that we've seen mean that we can never let our guard down in terms of the work that we're doing. I was on a phone call this morning with the community centers in our city, and obviously the community centers are closed, and we were about to implement an artist in residence program in the community centers, and it's all on hold. But the conversation was that, for mental health reasons, for safety reasons, for community reasons, these centers need to be providing arts programming as soon as possible, and as soon as we can all get together again, we need to hit the ground running. But unfortunately, we've had to put so many artists on hold, and our classroom residency programs have all been suspended. So we have a lot of artists who are not working right now, and city government's just trying to figure out how to move forward. And the arts, obviously are not top of mind, and our advocacy has to be really gentle and soft right now, but we know how important it is. We know how important it is for mental health and for the well-being of youth that we work with. So, we're just really trying to figure out, how do we keep this in front of our representatives? How do we keep it in front of our city electeds? And how do we make sure that when we all get together again, or even before we all get together again, that our arts programs don't lose their funding and don't lose their impetus? So that's what I'm working on.
Melissa, thank you, and thank you for joining, and thank you for what you do for the city of Sacramento. And I think what's going to be challenging for our sector is that, until there's really a vaccine, it's going to be difficult for our sector to actually gather to the degree that we normally do. Yeah. And so you're going to, even if we see that we can get back together again, it'll be with social distancing practices, which means practically in a venue, for example, you would have to have space in between. It starts to, you sort of start thinking, well, what does that look like practically? And it's really sort of a little overwhelming and challenging to think about that in terms of the impact that it's going to be for potentially. I've read articles that it could be as long as September 2021 before we're really at a place where we can gather in the way that we used to. So thank you, though, for what you're doing. And I know that you guys are innovating over there and trying to figure out ways to support artists during all of this. And you guys have a great department. I did want to give Shanina, yes. Shanina, I apologize, a chance, because she said she's got to run to a meeting and she wanted to make sure she gets to introduce herself. So please, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's here today. It's certainly my honor to have an opportunity to join this lunch meeting. I've eaten my sandwich, so I tried to get that out of the way. I am an artist. I'm based in Los Angeles. While I
did everybody, but I can't hear.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Let's see.
So I'm an artist based in Los Angeles, and I'm an interdisciplinary artist, and I've been touring an art exhibition called Intercultural for 4 years that launched in Toronto and went on to New York, Miami, has exhibited in Santa Monica, World Art Dubai, Fiji, Malaysia, as I activate a cultural movement unifying humanity for peace. In the collection, I've portrayed women from 25 nations wearing traditional, authentic, ancestral clothing, working with cultural leaders to collectively grow a voice of peace for that culture, an authoritative voice within their communities as we sort of align a peace message globally. And with that, I do have an exhibition that has been postponed at Bergamot Station, which was with Lois Lambert. So while we do plan on having it, we're certainly being sensitive to the landscape and ensuring when the time is right that we're able to sort of continue this goal of uniting humanity for peace. And with that, I'm again grateful to have an opportunity to potentially align with other people that were within your network, as I've also expanded this into a vision of having a mobile art gallery that would ideally go to public schools and provide an art platform for students who otherwise the arts education has been cut, or there's no funding to go on field trips, all of these sorts of things where it would allow art to be brought to the schools. And rather than maybe one grade having one opportunity, it would allow the entire school, and certainly be a very nominal fee for running the program, combined to trying to have an entire school go to a gallery or go to a museum. So it's an idea that I feel like allows us to really learn about our global landscape, intercultural, again, with the portrayal of 25 nations. It allows us, the artwork, to serve a purpose of enlightening cultural ideologies and initiating respect for diversity, as we sort of disarm and come from a place of knowledge and acceptance rather than the sense of fear of the unknown. And I've found it to be quite successful as I've exhibited around the world. It often brings people to tears as they are disarmed themselves and have a sense of self-realization. So while we're going through this pandemic, of course, as an artist, I seek ways to continue to ensure I'm able to still present this message and advocate for this world peace as we honor each other's diversity. And of course, the awareness now with COVID is certainly brought to the forefront how we are one, and we are all influenced by each other's actions. And this is an opportunity, again, where I feel like intercultural, again, while it served all ages, race, gender, religious, cultural traditions, supports this realization that we're all having as humanity, and how we start to align ourselves to support one another, recognizing that we're one human race. So I did provide in the chat my website as well as my email. So anyone that is within your network that would like to learn more, or would like to even offer advice how I may potentially pursue goals, which are of course for education of, again, all members of society. And again, I do have a specific proposal that would be dedicated towards education for children.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and appreciate the content of what you're putting out there. And we look forward to reviewing the website and checking it all out. So thank you for putting that in there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to, Chard Gonzalez, I know that you don't have, what is BJ? You don't have video on, it looks like, but maybe you could share with us. So there you are. So Chard was somebody who, me the other day, after our webinar on Monday, sent me what was just a lovely email. So I really, really appreciate it. And I'd love for you to share who you are and what you're up to.
Yeah, so my name is Chard. I'm a dance artist. I started my company about 11, 12 years ago. And I had kind of a breakdown last year, and ended up starting working for Disneyland, going back to my happy place. So, hey, Edmund. Anyway, I just recently, like 2 months ago, decided to kind of restart my company right before COVID started. So, I mean, it just the worst timing ever. But now that I'm obviously I'm doing all this teaching through Zoom, and it's bringing people together in a really different way. Obviously, in a dance space, we're all collecting, we're all giving each other high fives and everything. So that the lack of that is really difficult. But the ability to bring in more people to the studio is also interesting. So I'm getting, in my class in LA, I'm getting, normally 10 or 15, dancers, where in Zoom I'm getting like 30 dancers. So that's really interesting. And I'm trying to give them, my students, just really positive feedback, and just positive energy. So that's been really good. I also teach at the Colburn School, also in LA, and the kids have been really great. Also staying really, really positive. It's so difficult for them because they have, they're used to having like really, really tight schedules, and now that they have like all this like time to do, it's kind of mind-boggling for them, but they're doing really well. So just trying to stay positive, and I've of course I've been an advocate for dance and for arts for years and years and years, just because as artists we have to. It's just our job. So this is kind of getting into the advocacy, or putting it on my advocacy hat. I've been like really looking at Californians for the Arts for advice. So thank you so much, Julie, for all the work that you've been doing, and these webinars have been great. So thank you so much. Oh, and I did that one of the morning sessions. So I did my little drawing. Yeah, it's been really fun. So thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for your lovely note. I did the webinar on Monday, and he said it was really inspiring. So that made me feel good, because you never know when you're on these things, when you're teaching a webinar, you're like, what's happening out there? But we did a morning session. If you weren't on, it was super fun, because at the end we actually all boogied too. And I did some chair boogieing, which is, I think, maybe my new thing. Yeah. Well, Dante, I don't think you can do video, but Dante, can you unmute and introduce yourself? Are you there?
Yeah.
Are you?
Hi, Julie. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I don't know what, it's an old laptop, so you know how they are. temperamental. Can you hear me actually? I cannot
Yes.
hear you. Oh,
Yes.
okay, Julia.
Yes.
So I'm
So why don't you
what?
go ahead?
Okay, so I'm a documentary filmmaker. That's my day job. But I also am the executive director of the California LGBT Arts Alliance, which is based in LA, and we advocate for the arts that are made by LGBTQ artists and in the region of Southern California. So we've been in place for many years. Julie knew our former ED, and Greg says hello, Julie. And I remember speaking to Julie, I think in December, with Arts for LA convening in downtown LA, that I was talking about, well, I didn't know what COVID-19 was gonna happen. So we talked about advocating for small arts nonprofits like mine and others in terms of what AB 5 was gonna entail for us. So I know that's been put in the back burner, and I was wondering if there's any news on that. And I'm still trying to stay afloat. I have postponed all my events until September. I'm being optimistic that we were going to be able to do something in September here in West Hollywood. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to apply to every grant, every loan. And I know it's, LA County and LA City have been very proactive about trying to help us. The only problem is that their websites are always breaking down. Actually, LA County just opened one specifically for independent contractors and artists in LA County to apply for. But I just tried at 1 o'clock, and the website is not working at all. So that's been the frustration of, I'm sure, many of you and many of other people in the field.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Dante. I think what the challenge I hear from funders is that the demand is so much greater they have in terms of funds available. And I think that is going to continue to be an issue in terms of all the systems, because it's so unprecedented in terms of how many people are applying for things like unemployment and then grants and everything else. In terms of Assembly Bill 5, it is the law, so there's nothing changing in terms of that. I think that what you will hear from us in terms of what we will be talking about in terms of our advocacy around that issue, we can still work towards getting further exemptions or ramp up periods. One of our big concerns right now around Assembly Bill 5 is that it could, as people are applying for unemployment, and if they do that through the basic UI system that's available, it could potentially trigger the EDD to be looking at that and seeing if you were misclassified. And then if you were misclassified, then it could then trigger an audit down the way for that arts organization. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen, because we feel like that will essentially be the nail in the coffin of many, many arts organizations between AB5 and COVID-19. But at the same time, there is pandemic unemployment assistance, which is coming out of the CARES Act, PUA. Julie Su, the Department of Labor secretary, did announce something about that today or yesterday, and I think I posted it on our Facebook page. So, and that system is not yet up and running, but that is basically for independent contractors to be able to apply for unemployment assistance through the Federal CARES Act. So, and that is something we were advocating for at the federal level, because we do know that about 1/3 of people in the arts sector are in California are independent contractors and have not yet necessarily been switched over to employees under AB5. So just wanted to give that brief update, but we will definitely be working more on that issue. It's just, again, the legislature is not even in session. It's never not been in session. This is the first time in history. So I want to keep going around the room, around the table, as it were, to let people introduce themselves. How about, I know you, but I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Agata or Agata? Are you there? Do you want to unmute and introduce yourself? You're just a name. No? All right. How about, maybe she stepped away. Lisa Cabrera, are you there? Oh. Anybody? All right, well then, how about Beverly? Yes, Beverly Jordan, BJ is apparently you are called. Why don't you introduce yourself and what you do?
And can you hear me? Hi. Oh, good. Hi, I'm BJ Jordan. I'm from Sierra County Arts Council. I'm up here in Sierra City. It snowed, and so I'm just now getting unburied, and it's a new world. So I'm trying to re-envision Sierra County Arts Council and how we're going to interface with this different future. I feel extremely lucky and blessed for our community of artists and advocates, and to be living in such a beautiful place where I can just go out and be in nature. So I have very deep sympathy for people who don't have all the things that I have right now. I don't really know what else to say. I'm trying to figure it out. It's like new technologies. I've never done a website. Should I do a website? I've got contractors. I'm not sure how to engage them and pay them and keep them working. Our students, I've been interfacing with the school a lot, so I know what's going on in the schools. They just are getting packets, and they all got issued Chromebooks, and the Create California website has been really helpful. They just had that wonderful platform, so you can just click on if you want to do music or you want to do art, it's visual art or whatever you want to do, it's wonderful. Anyway, I feel very lucky and blessed to be where I am, and I wish you all the best. How's that?
That's perfect. We appreciate it. Thank you. Angela says, call me. And Agatha was not able to, her connection's not strong enough, but she's listed who she is in the chat and what she's up to. So I encourage you all to read that and welcome her into our lunch meeting. And I'm so glad you're with us. I see Jody from California Lawyers for the Arts. Jody and I done many things together over the last couple of years. And Jody, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of, tell us a little bit about what you guys are up to.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So let's see, by way of introduction, I am a retired prosecutor, a recovering social worker, and a longtime lover of the arts, going back several generations. And we're trying to teach our kids in every way the arts and to love the arts and to be creative in every possible way. But the reason why I'm on the screen today and in your homes and in your offices is because I am one of the associate directors of California Lawyers for the Arts. And we are a statewide nonprofit. We are in 5 major cities. We are in San Francisco, Berkeley, Sacramento, Los Angeles, and San Diego. I am in charge of the Sacramento program. Our organization, which has been around for a very long time, and is part of a network of other volunteer lawyer associations for the arts around the country. There's maybe 15 or 20 of us. We support artists. We are a service organization for artists. So we support artists with education, dispute resolution, and legal representation. And so our dispute resolution program, which is called Arts, Arbitration, and Mediation Services, is a long-standing national model for dispute resolution in the arts community. The arts community is a small community, and when there are disputes and conflicts, you don't want it going out into the major community at large, and you don't want to be telling your neighbors who are not in the arts how awful your co-writer is, or the producer of your movie, or the gallery that broke your piece, or where you found your broken piece. You want to resolve those conflicts in a confidential, professional manner. And you don't necessarily want to go to court, because court is expensive, time consuming, and emotionally draining for anyone that's ever been in court for any reason. So so that part of our service tries to resolve conflicts in a professional, confidential, quiet, and quick manner. And we do that in many different ways. One way is through negotiations counseling, which means we help artists of all sorts, including arts organizations, to resolve their own conflicts by helping them discover what the true issues are, maybe how they can go about talking with people, where the real difficult conflict really is, and ways to talk to people, ways to question people, and kind of creative ways to work around whatever the conflict is, not by avoiding it and not by charging at it, but by finding other solutions to resolve it. So we also offer workshops. We offer them around the state, basically monthly. And this is for artists to help them professionalize their craft. So for instance, when we hold contracts workshops, those are set up so that an artist knows that a contract might be very, very helpful to them, that they can put certain things in the contract, they can negotiate the contract, what are the different provisions of a contract, and that can help. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know that they might need a contract. So for instance, we might have co-writers or band members that come to us that say, we're splitting up, we've been together 15 years, we're splitting up, we never had a contract. We're coming into all sorts of problems about rights and work and titles and royalties and revenues and who gets what. And so by having a contract at the beginning, even when you are friends with the person you are trying to work with, this can help prevent a lot of problems. And so the workshops aim to help artists in that manner, to help them try to figure out a path. Kind of a business relationship was a little antithetical to what an artist thinks about when they want to, spread their joy through their craft and through their artwork. But we try to kind of help them figure out the business aspects of it. And then of course we have a series of lawyers on a panel that can help people. The lawyer service operates by either pro bono, which are artists that can't afford a so-called private attorney, so a pro bono artist panel, modest means artist panel, and professional full service panel of lawyers. We are state barred by the California Bar Association and the state California Bar. So we have to operate in a certain manner in order to take these cases. So as a result, you would have to fill out a form to be able to use our service if you would like pro bono help or modest means help. But we offer our services to artists not only for their art issues, but if an artist has a problem at their home with their landlord, that's going to affect their work and they are included in who we help. So here in Sacramento, we also have the Sacramento Mediation Center. And the reason for that is when the Sacramento Mediation Center had a problem between its board and its staff, they looked to us because we were in the same space already doing creative kind of conflict resolution. So here in Sacramento, we have a community program which offers help to the entire community, whether you're an artist or not. And it also has an arts piece to it. Oh, bless you.
Sorry. Awesome. That was great timing. So Judy, if you could just kind of wrap it up a little bit, because I want to get to a couple of more folks and we've only got about 6 minutes left. And we're going to put you the URL for California Lawyers for the Arts into the chat box so everyone can access that amazing organization that we have here in the state of California. So
all right. So the only thing I would say is that we send emails out weekly, and we have workshops all over the state, and it would be very good to go to our website to see kind of all the ongoings that happen all around the state. Thank you so much, Julie, for all your work, and thanks for the introduction.
That's totally my pleasure. And Jody, thank you for all that you guys are doing to support artists and all the work that you do in the workshops, which are really invaluable. So Darlene, I think you were the one who sneezed, so I'm going to call on you. Why don't you tell us what you're doing, who you are?
Cool. I'm Darlene Tennis. I have a business called Casa Q. I do cultural events and seminars and travel. So all based around like the Latino culture. That's it.
Terrific. And where are you based, Darlene?
Oh, San Jose, California. Right next
Great.
to James Reber.
Ah, good. I liked how James changed his background to being in a park. That was nice, James.
Yeah.
Well done. Well played. Well played. Well, great. Well, welcome. And is there anything specifically in terms of arts advocacy that you're engaged in or you want to learn more about right now?
Fortunately, we had planned a really cool event this month called, some of you may have heard of it, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but Tesoro for Solidarity. This is the Japanese American community that were rallying against the migrant children's camps. And so we were doing a fold-in. We were having a speaker who had been in the Japanese internment camps, was going to come speak at San Jose Women's Club in downtown San Jose. And then we had a fold-in, which is they were making 125,000 origami paper cranes to be delivered to Washington, D.C. in June, but they just canceled their walk. And then we just yesterday canceled our event as well, unfortunately. We were going to move to a virtual event, but we just felt that it's probably too many causes at the same time. And so that was really the reason why we canceled it, not because we couldn't move it to a virtual event. We just feel like people are overwhelmed with stuff right now.
I think that that's a really good point, and it is challenging to know how much content is too much content.
Mm.
And I think, you know, in some ways, somebody else said this, I think it was Chard who said he's getting more people they would in person. And I think that's true for us. I mean, we've had close to, I think, 350 people register for today, which is terrific, you know, and to be a part of this. And we're having lots of folks on our calls all day long. And so I think we've got about 200 on our next session with legislators, and which is great. Yeah. And everyone's dancing. This is good. There's a dance move happening. But yeah, it's at some point you sort of say, are people just overloaded now? You know, at what point do they become overwhelmed with content? And so I think it is really important that we also are mindful of that and also mindful of putting out good content. So I think we're all trying to figure the balance of that out. So we only have about 3 minutes left because I honestly have to go brush my teeth before I interview legislators, make sure there's no almonds in my teeth. But is anyone who didn't get a chance to speak? I do want to shout out to Jade Alyssa Rivera, who is our administrative assistant here for Californians for the Arts, and came in just days before we shut down our convening. We were supposed to meet in person, and she was going to be part of the team for that, and came forward, and it was going to be awesome. But we pulled it off so far. We're halfway through our day, and we're getting through our virtual day. And Jade Alyssa is the woman behind the scenes. So thank you, Jade Alyssa, for everything that you're doing to make this happen. And then there's a name there, Sarah Zahn, and she said, don't introduce me, but I'm going to. And Sarah and I have worked together for about 10 years, and Sarah does all of our graphics on our website and all of these wonderful things that's helped us to build like the California Arts Champion campaign and our social media graphics. And so if you haven't visited our website, go to californiansforthearts.org and check out the section called Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, which is the month of April, which is what we're celebrating right now. Obviously, everything has changed in terms of our plans, and we did move everything to be virtual. And it is around advocacy, and it's around celebrating and recognizing the impact the arts and culture and creativity sectors make in the state of California, and to make sure that lawmakers, the public, media, et cetera, are aware of that. And right now, I think it's even more critical that we tell our stories, and in particular, how we and what we're talking about is arts are essential. And essential isn't a word right now because it is being used in terms of essential services, essential workers. And although maybe we're not in the first responders, we are the second responders. And we are the people who come into communities to help, you know, heal, whether it's for mental health purposes and all the ways that we're doing. And we're doing it right now in all the delivery of programming that we've moved as quickly as possible and being creative. And then we're also doing it, we'll be doing it as soon as we can all get back together. And we know that what's the correlation that we just want to always make sure that people talk about is not only arts are essential, but arts need investment. And that's the really important piece, right? So we are systemically undercapitalized as a sector. We are looked at as something that's nice to have, but not critical, you know, and we think of artists as like, oh, they need to express themselves and we just get to be the audience. Aren't we lucky? Instead of saying, no, these are professionals. They need to be compensated just like you would compensate anybody else. And so, you know, I know everyone on this call believes in that. And so I just want to encourage you to join us. This is just day one. If you're a new arts advocate, I hope you see this as day one. If you're a longtime arts advocate, as many people on this call are, you know, continue to tell your stories and help shape the narrative in a way that makes it so that it is impossible for them to cut our funding. That's what we want to get to, both for arts in general and arts education. And I applaud all of you for all the work that you do in your own communities. And I thank you so much for joining me for lunch. Yeah, everyone take your mute off and clap. Everyone's clapping and doing all that good stuff. And so thank you so much for joining, and come back at 5. At 5 o'clock, I will have a glass of wine because we will have made it through the day. And Edmund will play the saxophone. And if you are a musician in any way, or Chard, I hope you will dance for us, do some dance moves when we're meeting at 5, and we'll join again. And then please also join us at 2 o'clock. I'm going to stop talking any minute. For the legislative session. I think it's going to be really great. We've got some great champions for the arts, and we want to hear from them, and we want to make sure that they see that there's a lot of us listening and caring about what they're doing for the arts.
Keep well, everybody.
Thank you.
Be safe and healthy.
See you later.
Bye. See you later.
Ciao.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.